Hi, thanks for stopping by again. It's been a few weeks since I've had a chance to post. I apologize for that. It's been a little bit busy, but I've got actually a story today, and I've identified three other stories that I want to tell you in the coming weeks. So I appreciate you checking back every now and then. Um, just on a side note, I got to say I've really enjoyed spending the time looking into some of our my ancestors, and for me, it's been worth it just for my own benefit, and for those that have enjoyed watching them, I hope you enjoy them too. I will say that for the most part, you're only hearing one line of the Lewis and Burbank line. I know you all have other ancestors, and I get a lot of these stories out of Family Search. Click on the Memories tab, and you'll find some really fascinating things there that you might find a benefit for you too. So I want to talk to you today just briefly about my fourth great grandmother. See if I can balance this here a little bit. And her name is Melinda Durfey Hatch. Full name was Melinda Bradford Durfey Hatch, and she, like I said, is my fourth great grandmother on my maternal side, and she was born in February of 1806 in Vermont, in a little place called Lincoln, Vermont, which is a city that was founded by a group called the Society of Friends, and they're also known as the Quakers. Have been able to find no record that the Durfey family were Quakers, but that they lived in this area in a farming community. And Melinda grew up as the daughter of a farmer, and I'm sure spent a lot of time out in the field helping out there. At the age of 16, she married my fourth great grandfather, Josephus Hatch, and they had 8 children, of which only 4 of them lived beyond infancy. So it was a very hard life for them. Now, in 1843, Mormon missionaries came to Vermont, and Melinda and Josephus were baptized. Got a date here, 3rd of February in 1843. And as the Mormons were called to go to Zion, Josephus and Melinda moved to Nauvoo in 1843, shortly after they were baptized. And at that time, they had 4 of their living children with them. Now, Josephus's parents, Jeremiah and Elizabeth Haight Hoyt Hatch, had already moved to Nauvoo, and so for several months, they lived with Melinda lived with her in-laws. And from what I was able to find, the house that Jeremiah Hatch was living in Nauvoo, and Josephus and Melinda moved in with him, that house is still standing today in Nauvoo. And next time I go, I'm going to try and track that one down. Apparently, it was the house stood, I believe, just west of the Nauvoo Temple. The Nauvoo Temple was just a few blocks west of the Hatch home, so I got that reversed. She received her endowments along with Josephus in January of 1846. And in February of 1846, many of the saints began to leave Nauvoo. And that was in February of 1846. Now, Josephus stayed behind with Melinda. Melinda was pregnant again. Also, Jeremiah and his wife were also very sick and very elderly. They had their own children, and also their Josephus's brother Hezekiah had passed, and so they were taking care of Hezekiah's children as well. They decided that they would stay, and they would leave Nauvoo when the conditions improved and their health improved. That didn't work out. The mobs actually drove them out in September of 1846. There was a robbery that took place. They lost a lot of their things, and they went immediately left their home and stayed on the shores of the Mississippi River for a whole week, waiting for conditions to be just right that they could cross. Um, as they were crossing the Mississippi, the wagon turned over, and they lost almost everything was thrown out, but nobody was hurt, so that was the good part of that. And in September 24th of 1846, after crossing the Mississippi River, Melinda went into labor. And the weather was so bad and it was raining so hard, they had to dig a trench around the tent that Melinda was staying in to keep the water from flowing in on the bed that she was laying on the ground. And a son was born during that storm. As conditions got better, they slowly made their way across the plains. However, because of a series of delays, I won't get into all the details here, but just let me say that it took them 6 years to cross and to reach the Salt Lake Valley. I'm sure they endured a lot of hardship and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of pain and struggle in those 6 years, from the time they left Nauvoo to the time that they reached the Salt Lake Valley. Now, interesting enough, just as they were coming down, I don't know the exact location, but just before they reached the Salt Lake Valley, Melinda fell from a wagon, and the wheels of the cart or the wagon actually rode over her body. She was severely injured, and actually they had to make a hammock suspended, kind of a sling suspended beneath the wagon that she traveled in for quite some time. But it said that she wanted to walk into the Salt Lake Valley, and she was able to do that. I'm sure it was painful, but her goal was to actually, under her own power, walk into the Salt Lake Valley after that 6-year journey. The Hatch family settled in the Ogden area, and they built a home. And in the quote, I guess this is one of my aunts, Ruth Ann Packer Rose, had wrote and described Grandma Melinda as a cheery soul, ever willing to serve her family and friends. She was short in stature, but bright-eyed and had a smile. She always wore aprons, which were immaculately clean. Josephus passed away. Melinda lived another 10 years, and at the age of 78, she passed away in Ogden, Utah, and I'm sure is buried somewhere there today. I have never known this story before, and I'm not sure which cemetery she's buried in, but it's been said of her that she was the personification of a pioneer woman, and I got to believe after living 6 years on the plain, also a frontier woman. So just another ancestor that I think we can take some pride in and maybe learn some lessons on patience and sacrifice. And I think that's a great legacy to hold on to. So again, thanks for stopping by. We'll get some more up next time.